Hey everyone, this is Ron Watson with Lundinky. What an exciting week. Now, day one forced me to sit down and write the unfiltered truth. No editing, no filtering, just getting it out. What hurt the most? What felt disrespectful? What did I expect? What story was I telling myself? And I'll be honest, that wasn't comfortable, but it was necessary. Because when you keep everything in your head, it stays abstract. Writing it down made it real. It exposed how much of the emotional weight wasn't just about what happened, but about the meaning I attached to it. That alone cleared a lot of mental backlog. Now, as far as a musician is concerned, now you didn't get the call back for a gig or a session. Instead of bottling it up, you write, I feel overlooked. I expected recognition. I'm telling myself I'm not good enough. That clarity separates emotion from identity. Now, day two was where things started to shift, separating facts from interpretation. The facts were simple. A disagreement happened, communication changed, distance allowed. That's it. But my interpretations, that's where the emotion lived. They don't value me, they dismiss my experience. And once I saw that separation clearly, I realized something. I had been treating my interpretations as facts. And that's what was amplifying everything. That awareness alone probably reduced the intensity by, I don't know, 20 to 30%. Now, for musicians, here's a fact: you didn't get the gig. Interpretation, they don't like my playing. The reality, there could be dozens of reasons: tone, fit, timing, budget. Separating this protects your confidence. It really does. So, day three went deeper. I mean, here was the deep dive. I had to name the core trigger. That's key. Not the situation, but the actual trigger. Was it being unheard? Loss of authority, loss of connection, loss of influence? For me, it was a combination. But if I want to be perfectly honest with you, I think the biggest one was being unheard. That hit deeper than I expected. Because when you've spent decades building experience, you don't just experience people to agree, but you do expect to be considered. Naming that reduced the emotional fog. It gave the feeling a label instead of letting it float around undefined. Well, for musicians, okay, so your post and video gets low engagement. The trigger isn't the views, it's feeling invisible. Once you name that, you can address it without overreacting. So, what I did was I moved on to day four, obviously. I introduced a shift that changed everything. This is not rejection, it's misalignment. That line stuck with me because rejection feels personal, final, dismissive. Misalignment feels different. It doesn't erase your value, it just means the way you're showing up isn't being received the way you intended. That reframing didn't eliminate the emotion, but it softened it. It took the edge off. Musicians, for example, a brand doesn't call you back. Instead of, I'm not good enough, shift to, my style doesn't align with what they needed. That keeps your identity intact because, quite frankly, you can't please everyone. Now, day five reminded me that this isn't just mental, it's physical. I started moving more intentionally for this week, actually. I started walking my grandson around the neighborhood for like 20 minutes. I watch him 3 days out of the week. And quite frankly, he was an impact of changing my mindset. I started including light workouts. I started, doing some small some small weights to gain tone, to keep the muscle mass. And then breathing patterns. That's really key. That's really important. I actually use a Tai Chi. Just go to, just find a Tai Chi video, a beginner's lessons. And I do that at least for 11 minutes a day. I know 11 minutes because I do the video over and over and over again. Now, and what I noticed with all of that was simple. When my body calmed down, my thoughts followed. Before this, I was trying to think my way out of something my body was still reacting to. That doesn't work. Once I regulated physically, I'd estimate around, 15 to 20% reduction in overall emotional intensity. Here, these numbers add up, and I'll show you at the end. Now, for musicians, after a frustrating practice session, instead of forcing it, step away, walk away, go for a walk. Come back later, your hands and mind reset, and suddenly things feel easier. I learned actually that trick from when I was working in investments, and I spoke to an IT guy that was kind of fixing my computer at the time. And he would sometimes walk away and says, I have to answer this call, or I have to do this one thing. And when I came back and I specifically asked him, what was the thing that you did? He's like, I step away to gain some clarity and some focus to help me fix the problem. And I thought, you know what? That's a great idea. Why not just apply that to everybody? So here we are, day 6, grounded me into something I hadn't focused on enough: stability. Not fake positivity, not forcing gratitude, just reality. 3 things in my life that are stable, 3 competencies I've built over decades, 3 ways I've potentially influenced people. That shifted my focus away from what felt disrupted and back toward what is still intact. Because one situation doesn't erase a lifetime of experience. So, going back to musicians, instead of focusing on one bad performance, one bad session, one bad practice, just list songs you've mastered, skills you've developed, people you've inspired or helped. That builds confidence based on evidence. Now, I know we have a great community, a guitar community, great camaraderie amongst us. And we love to help. We love to point out and say, hey, why don't you try A, B, or C? Because everybody's different. And that's what we do in this community. And that's what I love about the guitar community. So day 7 was probably the most practical. Now, it was stopping the replay loop in my head. Every time my mind went back to this situation, I used one phrase. Not useful. No analysis, no continuation. Just interruption. I'll be honest, I had to do that multiple times a day. But by the end of the week, the frequency dropped. And not completely gone, but definitely reduced. Now, that's the goal. Really, that's really the goal. So for musicians, you mess up during a performance. Instead of playing it all night, you say, not useful, and shift to practice or reviewing constructively the next day. So after 7 days, where did I end up? Now, I told you I would quantify my results. These are for the math nerds. I really want an idea of how to quantify results instead of just me talking and telling you what my experience is. So I would say I'd call this a 4 out of 5. Not perfect, but significantly better. The intensity of the emotion dropped by roughly 40 to 50%. The frequency of rumination decreased noticeably, and my ability to interrupt thoughts really improved. My overall baseline felt more stable. And most importantly, I felt more in control of myself, not the situation, myself. So that's, I think, is the win. So because 1 week was never about fixing the relationship, it was about fixing the internal environment that the situation was living in, my head. And once the environment stabilizes, everything changes. Your thoughts become clearer, your reactions slow down, your energy starts to come back. But here's the truth: stability is just the first layer. Because when the emotional intensity drops, there's still something underneath it. Well, the need to be heard, the need to be right, they need to be acknowledged. And that's where week 2 comes in. Next week is about detachment, not avoidance, not shutting down, detachment. Letting go of the need to control outcomes. I always say focus on what you can control. It takes a lot of pressure and a lot of stress off. Letting go of the need to re-win past moments. Letting go of the expectation that resolution has to happen on your timeline. That's a different level of work. And honestly, it's harder than stabilization because now you're just not managing emotion, you're releasing attachment, right? So, week 1 gave me control over the internal state. Week 2 is going to be whether I can maintain that control without needing anything in return. That's where this gets real. And that's where we're going next. Thanks for joining me. This is Ron Watts with Lundinky. And you have yourself a great day.